We need to understand that the BE, the inner self within each person, plays an extremely important role in life. If this BE is distorted, our life will also be distorted accordingly. So the question is, how do we correctly recognize this BE? We need to avoid misinterpretations about our inner self. Instead, let's look deep inside to understand what elements it comprises. We shouldn't learn aimlessly, but should focus on the right objects. In life, people often say, if you don't live, then don't bother. If you live, you must live in pleasure and happiness. But before rushing to ask, what is happiness? A rather complex question. We should start with a more fundamental question. Is happiness inside or outside of us? This question is actually more important than defining what happiness is. Only after determining the location of happiness can we continue to explore the core elements within ourselves that contribute to true happiness. Similarly, you should also ask yourself which motivation is more sustainable, motivation from within or from without. When you return from school feeling enthusiastic, does that motivation come from within, or is it just an external impact? Each person will have different experiences, but if you feel twice as enthusiastic right after class, it's usually external motivation. The afterglow of the course is still there. The important thing is how after 2 weeks, a month, when the initial excitement has faded, you still maintain your motivation. That's when the inner strength truly appears. Many people often confuse inner strength with temporary motivation. This is a common confusion that we need to avoid. Many courses currently argue that energy is more important than ability, and that the energy in the course is very high. But we need to ask ourselves, is energy really just about transferring motivation? When others inspire us to be enthusiastic, we call it energy. When the class is fun and joyful, we call it energetic. A class that isn't fun is considered not energetic. If we argue like that, perhaps a bar is the most energetic place. In reality, energy exists in two forms: motivation and inner strength. Energy from inner strength is what creates lasting ability. This is crucial to note. Just like happiness, it must come from within. And we need to clearly distinguish between motivation and inner strength. If you observe carefully, you will see many young people continuously participating in motivational courses, learning one course after another, but then one fine day, they still feel as bored with life as ever. This happens because they have confused motivation with inner strength. In sharing sessions with students, many, after 2-day, 2-night courses, expressed their gratitude to me. They confided, "I don't understand why I've been studying for 3 years and haven't seen any progress. Every time I take a course, I work hard for a month, then I get bored again." The problem is that they only focus on external motivation and forget that inner strength needs to be developed by themselves. It is crucial to practice what you can create yourself, understand what needs to be practiced, and what methods to use. Look at Einstein. He often rested his chin on his hand, looking into the distance as if gazing at another planet. Can you imagine that even if his wife stood in front of him, he wouldn't recognize her? That's how science is done. If he recognized his wife as soon as she opened the door, and knew it was the secretary as soon as she appeared, he couldn't do science. He could only be a playboy. Einstein spent 20 years coming up with the formula E equals mc squared in the theory of relativity. Do you think he had more perseverance than ordinary people? Have you ever done something over and over again for 20 years and pursued it to the end, or did you give up after the 5th time? Einstein experimented thousands of times before succeeding. There's an interesting story about Einstein that I want to share. Once a reporter asked his wife, You've lived with him for many years. How does he research to find the theory of relativity like that? Do you know what his wife replied? No, I don't know how he researches, but he uses a lot of envelopes. Fans send letters in envelopes, and he tears them open to read them, then uses the blank envelope to scribble formulas on. I've seen him scribbling like that for over a decade. This shows that when Einstein thought of something, he immediately wrote it down on whatever was available, like the back of an envelope, to calculate the formula. Throughout this process, he used his thinking ability to finally arrive at the formula E equals mc squared. So, his inner strength included two distinct elements: more perseverance than others and more thinking than others. Mother Teresa, on the other hand, demonstrated two other very distinct elements. In 50 years of doing charity work, she could embrace any child, from a child addicted to heroin from a young age, infected with HIV. She would embrace and love him until she passed away, then take care of his funeral. To abandoned children, whether white, chubby, she would nurture them all. People define this as unconditional love. So, do you think the love you have for your children is truly unconditional? Especially those mothers who claim to love their children unconditionally. Think carefully whether it is conditional or unconditional love. The truth is that we love our children with many conditions. The biggest condition is it must be our child. If it is not our child, we will start to feel uncomfortable immediately. Imagine one fine day when your child is 5 years old, you take a DNA test and find out that it is not your biological child. What would you think? Perhaps you would be angry, thinking that the nurse had switched the baby, that your biological child was gone, and this was someone else's child. Would you feel uncomfortable? There, you see. When put in the situation that the child is not your biological child, even though you have raised it for 3 to 5 years, you will feel uncomfortable immediately. You will no longer love it as you did in the beginning. That love will automatically fade. Think more about the concept of conditional love. If you are the husband and your child, the child you have raised for 10 years after a DNA test, finds out that it is your wife's child with the neighbor, would you still love it as before? Perhaps not, right? It would be difficult for you to continue to love as before. This proves that the love of parents for their children is actually conditional love. And the biggest condition is, it must be their child. What about Mother Teresa? Did she set that condition? Not at all. Whose child? What race? White or black? What religion? None of that mattered to her. Although she was a Christian, she saved the most Muslims throughout her life. That's why, when Mother Teresa passed away, 30 heads of state attended the funeral, and 150 other heads of state sent condolences. What's special is that a few days after she died, the Islamic side canonized her, and 10 days later the Christian side also canonized her. She is a rare person canonized by both religions, which is truly strange. Looking back at Vietnam in modern times, has anyone had 30 heads of state fly in to attend their funeral? Has anyone had 150 heads of state send condolences? No one. Not even those who are called great leaders. Through that, we understand that the formula in the aspect of giving unconditionally is extremely difficult. In Mother Teresa's life, there is an incredible story. She once walked between two lines of fire. One side was Palestine. One side was Israel fighting in the Gaza Strip. When the two sides were shooting at each other, she still went in to pick up the bodies of the soldiers and bury them. According to you, which side had more soldiers die? Palestine died more because they were weaker. while Israel had a stronger army and smarter intelligence. But what's special is, wherever she went, the guns stopped firing. Wherever she went, that section of guns stopped firing. After she passed, the guns continued. The reason is that they thought, if Mother Teresa is still here, one day we die, someone will bury us. But if Mother Teresa is gone, we die, no one will bury us. She was not afraid of anything wherever help was needed. Whether there was war or HIV, she came to help. She practiced the happiness vow in the Bible about unconditional love. If it is unconditional, then all external factors are not needed. Guns are just conditions. HIV is also a condition. This race or that race is also a condition. Islam or Christianity is also just a condition. Loving unconditionally means ignoring all of that. All her life she practiced that policy, so after she passed away, more than 3,000 people continued her vow of happiness. When I read the story of Mother Teresa passing by and the guns stopping, I was amazed. But thanks to studying Buddhist scriptures and reading many fairy tales, I realized that there have always been people like that. Even the things that fairy tales tell about people playing with wild animals can completely be true. I will explain more carefully later. Have you noticed when going to squares in Europe or Asia, thousands of pigeons fly and perch everywhere? When you sit on a stone bench, they can perch on your shoulder. When you eat corn, they will eat with you. If you throw food out, they will come and eat together. This shows a natural law. If we never have the intention of killing pigeons, they will consider us friends and freely perch on our shoulders. So when do they consider us enemies? That's when the thought arises in our minds to turn them into delicious roasted or grilled dishes. When this bad intention arises, they automatically feel it and will fearfully fly away. Although animals cannot read our thoughts, they can sense our intentions. Thus, everything starts from our intentions. When our intentions are peaceful and consider them friends, they will respond with friendship. Conversely, when our intentions are to harm them, they will no longer want to be near us. This good intention can be clearly seen through the story of Mother Teresa. She had a simple intention: to save the wounded soldiers on both sides of the battle line. She just walked into the war zone, and after a few months both sides knew that she was not afraid to die. She only wanted to pick up the soldiers' bodies and bury them. Therefore both sides respected her, and when she went, the guns stopped there. In the scriptures, this phenomenon is called the power of loving kindness, the power of compassion. When compassion is great enough, it will spread around, making those around us naturally want to live better. This is an extremely important power. In the past, when reading fairy tales about the Buddha meditating in the rain and a giant snake bulging out to protect him, I didn't believe it. I thought it was just a fairy tale too far-fetched. But after reading about Mother Teresa and observing the pigeons, I summarized and realized that this could completely happen. When we are completely at peace with nature, nature will also be at peace with us. Therefore, the stories in fairy tales like Snow White going into the forest to play with deer, foxes, and dancing with them are completely possible. Today, in Bhutan, this is still true. People there do not kill, so when you stop your car on the roadside and take out food, the deer and rabbits in the forest will come to beg for food like pigeons. You can completely play with the creatures in the forest normally. Thus humans and all things can completely get along with each other. We can completely create peace in this world. And the starting point is to adjust our intentions. Don't want to kill anyone. Don't be greedy. Don't be angry with anyone. Gradually, these good intentions will take shape. And when it is strong enough, it will become the power of compassion radiating around. Through the story of Mother Teresa, we see that she has more perseverance than others, daring to go into the middle of arrows and bullets without fear, and helping everyone with an open heart. Her inner strength comes from two elements: extraordinary perseverance and outstanding morality, along with more unconditional love than others.